There's over 100 exotic weapons in Destiny 2, and today we have some facts about every single one of them. These facts will dive into the lore and some gameplay facts about the exotics. Not every weapon has some crazy lore story involved. So this information comes from some lore cards from the game and Ishtar, as well as some facts from Destinypedia. Check out those links down below. And also, if you have a cool fact of your own about any of these weapons, leave it in the comments. The Ace of Spades is the weapon of Cayde 6. It was rebuilt by Banshee and used by the Guardian to avenge Cayde after his death. Ager Scepter, built by Mara and her mother Osana. This weapon was intended to carve through areas of the Ascended Realm and also the ley lines to unite parts of the reef. Anarchy has the logo of the Kel's Scourge Fallen on its casing. Civix, the boss of that season and leader of the Scourge, is the brother of the Spider. Arbalest was one of the first linear fusions that silences barriers, unlike similar weapons that Drifter talks about from the Dark Age. Bad Juju was created by Tolan the Shattered. The skull of an Ahamkara sits at the front near the barrel. Bastion was found in your Guardian's grave through the corridors of time. Saint 14 claims it was the Guardian's favorite weapon. At this point, we know the Guardian isn't dead, so that timeline may have been diverted, unless Bastion is your favorite weapon. Black Talon, a weapon that represents the deaths of Mara and Aldrin Sov during the Taken War and Forsaken. It depicts light and dark elements like the Awoken themselves, born from that calamity of light and dark's collision. Borealis came about from Project Borealis, a highly advanced and experimental weapon that can shift its energy alignment to match various spectral frequencies. Buried Bloodline. In its lore card, Fikrul the Fanatic from Forsaken appoints 5 knights to travel to Earth as of late. He's trying to regroup the Scorn army, and in doing so he grants these 5 knights weapons symbolic of their transformations. His son Rathiel, the first boss of the Warlord's Ruined Dungeon, gets the Buried Bloodline. Cerberus +1, using 4 auto rifles and a photonic heart. Guardian Jezza Verlaine crafted the Cerberus to defend herself after her ship crashed in the Tangled Shore. Centrifuge is powered by ionic reactors, developed from magnetic containment technology at the New Pacific Arcology on Titan. Try saying that 5 times fast. This was originally intended to create power suits, explore the oceans below Titan, but possibly designed with weaponization in mind instead. Cloudstrike. The Stormherd was a masked figure who wielded lightning to protect a village from raiders, rising from death with the aid of a mysterious Stormcrow to command thunder and drive the raiders away. This weapon is based off of that tale. Coldheart is the first weapon Omelan created completely from scratch. It uses liquid fuel that acts as a coolant to maintain its laser-powered technology. Collective Obligation. Forged by the Witness and followers like Ralk, this weapon represents Ralk's purpose through the Witness, by corrupting others to serve the final shape. Conditional Finality uses stasis and solar damage. It drops from Nezarec, and its lore describes the moment Savathun cursed him during the collapse. Crimson, a hand cannon that fires 3-round bursts, was built by a Guardian after Red Death was outlawed and declared a Guardian killer. Cryothesia 77K. A wounded Splicer Elixni uses her gauntlet and light to escape the Vex. But while seeking knowledge through a portal, she becomes trapped by dark, freezing threads that overpower her as the Vex close in. This sidearm was crafted by the House of Light. Darcy. Darcy is a sentient weapon, one of many in the Destiny universe. It has a desire for a dedicated Guardian who values the strategy and intricacies of combat, hoping to form a strong partnership with said Guardian. Dead Man's Tale. Found aboard the Glykon, Dead Man's Tale belonged to Catabasis, a Guardian who became loyal to Callus's cause, but eventually got trapped in the Egregore darkness aboard the ship, and the Guardian would find him like this. Dead Messenger. Kaido and Zavala watch the Guardian in Vox Obscura. Kaido's like, hey, the weapon they're using looks pretty cool, I want my own grenade launcher. So Zavala offers to have a Cabal-sized version crafted for her. Deathbringer, also a weapon tied to Toland the Shattered and the death song of the Death Singers. Delicate Tomb, the essence of the final god of pain Nezarec himself exists inside this weapon. Nezarec has been known to exist in many places, in the Vex network, in the Glaive, and also here where he describes himself as bright and delicate to hide his true form. Deterministic Chaos, the weapon of Rohan and built from Cloudstrider tech of Neomuna. The Guardian finds this in a Lightfall quest inside the Black Garden. Devil's Ruin, its frame was pulled from the time-meshing sundial, and with weapon fragments from the Twilight Gap, this exotic sidearm was able to be crafted. Divinity was found by the Kentarch III, a Guardian fire team who entered the Black Garden and began to study. It was an ancient Vex artifact. Dragon's Breath was created by Crux Lamar, the same manufacturer who created the Gjallarhorn. Duality belonged to Crow and the Guardian and crafted under the Spider. It was used to hunt Wrathborn back in Season of the Hunt lore-wise. When Aldrin Sov was first resurrected as the Crow, this is what he used. Edge of Action. The next 3 exotic glaives released in Witch Queen and are class-specific, a unique case compared to some of Destiny 2's other weapons. The Edge of Action belongs to Titans, Edge of Concurrence to Hunters, and Edge of Intent to the Warlocks. Ergo Sum. This final shaped sword was seen on your Guardian's grave in the corridors of time. It sits there on the middle of the tomb, same design and everything with a ghost near the hilt. Ariana's Vow belonged to Ariana III, member of Eris Morn's fire team. It has barrier rounds and was an ode to Ariana's vow to destroy and get revenge on Crota. Euphony, a final drop from the Witness in the Salvation's Edge raid. This weapon lore describes the final shape as a finely tuned harp. Life and time are the strings plucked to create a beautiful symphony, controlled by the Witness and its collective of precursors. The definition of euphony is the quality of being pleasing to the ear. Exderis fires like a hive boomer and is of hive origin. It was constructed by Eris Morn. Eyes of Tomorrow. Clovis Bray sent an Exo through a portal. The Exo encountered tons of Vex forces and died. Despite a revival request, Clovis left the Exo to die and instead focused on developing more powerful weaponry for future attempts. Eyes of Tomorrow was the answer. Fighting Lion. Wei Ning was a titan known for her brute strength with her fists. Eventually, the warlock Ariana III and her ghost inspired Wei Ning to create a weapon based off of her own strength. It was the Fighting Lion. Final Warning, created by Chioma Essie of the Ishtar Collective. It uses Magnus and gyroscopic effects, spinning and motion to harness the paracausal energy inside. Forerunner is found near a cryotube intended to be the Master Chief's and is based off of the Halo CE pistol. Gjallarhorn, one of the most powerful and sought-after launchers of all time. You were able to craft your own back in Rise of Iron, and it was one of the first ever Destiny exotics revealed. Grand Overture, a Cabal machine gun weapon, is based off of the slug launchers that Colossi and some of the bigger Scions use. Graviton Lance fires tiny bullet-sized black holes. It was found in the tunnels of Old Chicago. Hardlight can fire Solar Arc and Void. It has no damage falloff and was built by the minds of the Omelan manufacturer from Golden Age Tech. Hawkmoon, the Traveler gives this weapon to Crow and the Guardian after they defeat Taken and follow Crow's vision to a shard in the European Dead Zone. Crow is seen using this at various times like in Season of the Wish and Final Shape cutscenes. Heart Shadow was a sword passed down between members of Callus's family. He tried to gift it to Kaido after the death of her mother, but Kaido kept destroying it and returning it with the head of the assassin Callus sent on its blade. The father and daughter communicated this way for a time with the sword. Heir Apparent is basically a Cabal heavy slug thrower. You can't aim down sights, one of the only weapons in Destiny where this is the case, and it has the winning Guardian Games class icon on its side, currently the Hunters. Hierarchy of Needs is a sentient bow created by Rasputin. Warmind voices can be heard when it's equipped. Izanagi's Burden was one of the most powerful weapons built by the Black Armory Foundry just before the collapse. Jotun, also built by the Black Armory, is a fusion rifle but acts more like a rocket launcher that can snipe from long ranges. Kvostov was the first weapon you picked up in Destiny 1. It later became an exotic in Rise of Iron and then in the final shape. Its lore depicts a ghost searching through a ruined Earth for 36,000 days in search of their guardian. Le Monarch, this Black Armory bow fires poison arrows. Its lore depicts the moment Ada-1, a new Exo, encounters a butterfly as it lands on her metal arm. She calls out the words, Le Monarch. Legend of Acrius is based off of Cabal legend, Acrius, who takes the sun itself and became the first Cabal emperor. Leviathan's Breath. Callus had his own monster hunter. This one is pretty cool. Voik, Shadow of the Wilds. This was a Scion Flayer who could hunt creatures around the system using this very bow. Lord of Wolves is a fallen weapon based off of the House of Wolves, who were not always hostile. They were once referred to as the Peaceful Weavers. Lorentz Driver might be a reference to some real-world science using the principles of Lorentz force and Lagrangian mechanics to power its concentrated energy beams and create black hole-like singularities with each kill. Lumina. Opposite the weapons of sorrow, Lumina is a weapon of hope, it's called, and can heal and improve damage of allies. It was found at the same place the Thorn was, and you were guided to this place in the quest by none other than Shin Malphur, legendary hunter. Malfeasance, built by the Guardian and Drifter. Drifter intended to use this weapon to defend himself from Shin Malphur if the occasion ever arose. Apparently, the weapon also trembles in your hand with its animation. The Mida Multitool is believed to have been created by the Mida Corporation from Bungie's Marathon universe. It somehow made its way through time and timelines to you here and now. Merciless is also a self-aware AI weapon. It adjusts its function to pursue destruction when it fails to meet its goal. Microcosm is a Traveler-created weapon. It fires a kinetic beam of light, much like the Traveler's own terraformation beam, and its lore discusses the creation of life and watching it thrive. Monte Carlo. You can use this weapon's bayonet as a melee, newly added in Destiny 2. Necrochasm is a weapon of sorrow and feeds on the wielder's aggression. It was built by Enkar the Anointed and drops from the Crota's End raid. No Time to Explain. Clovis Bray travels in time to retrieve Elsie's weapon from the year 3025. Prying it from his dead granddaughter's exo hand, he returns to the present and gives it to her. Other timeline analysis reports indicate this weapon may also have ties to Praedyth from the Vault of Glass. 1,000 Voices, built from the Ahamkara bones of Riven that wish to infect the wielder's mind, shape desire into reality in twisted ways. Creatures like the Hive, like the Ahamkara who we've turned into weapons, have found out to sort of exist beyond death. Osteostriga. Yana 14, a Guardian researcher, studied Thorn too closely and the weapons of sorrow. She purposefully arranged accidental shootings so she could study these sorrow effects more closely. She used this knowledge in a dark turn to create the Osteostriga for herself, a new weapon of sorrow. Outbreak Perfected uses a miniature Siva engine and was crafted into a weapon by the Guardian in Shiro 4. It has since been rebuilt as of late after the Red War and some other situations with the Fallen thanks to Ada-1 and some Vex technology, returning as the Outbreak Perfected. Parasite has Savathun's worm inside of it.
Make good after your deception? Perhaps you'd prefer my earlier proposition of your insides lining the floor. Parasite, it's been,
Spare me.
Gladly.
Polaris Lance is Bray's personal weapon, gifted to her by Elsie on her birthday long ago. Prometheus Lance was built by a Cryptarch from a crystal that is able to start fires, hence its solar damage. Quicksilver Storm, built from Neomuna's Golden Age nanite technology, it surpasses even Clovis Bray's Siva creations. It was found aboard an Ishtar space station deep in space, probably close to Neomuna, but belonged to the Cloudstriders. All Elsie found nearby was a lost ghost, a puka creature, and a giant handprint. Rat King, based off of the Rat King phenomenon where rats' tails get attached together. You've seen many depictions of this in games, many rats or enemies combined into one being like in The Last of Us. This lore tab mentions a Rat King myth throughout the city, a hero that the civilians speak of. And the weapon itself fits right along with the Rat King tails. The perks of the weapon increase damage if other Rat King weapons are nearby. Red Death Reformed. The original Red Death was banned by the city. This one is reformed. A guardian uses solar light to burn away its darkness. Used now not for revenge, but for justice in honor of her fallen friend. Revision Zero was crafted by Hake and Braycorp using Synthweave, a polyphasic material extracted from the K1 anomaly artifact on the moon. So the darkness artifact contained in the anomaly crucible map. This was the first weapon to have multiple catalysts. Risk Runner, just like the gameplay, lore-wise, the weapon was built for the user to sustain damage in order to output more damage. So while using this, your guardian sustains an immense amount of pain and rage-fueled damage of arc output. Ruinous Effigy was gifted to the guardian by the Darkness or Witness on Io. Banshee began to notice that the weapon leeches onto the guardian and slowly drains their light as they use it, but it didn't pose a noticeable danger. Salvation's Grip, crafted by House Salvation after they were gifted darkness power in stasis. This was also one of our first stasis weapons. Skyburner's Oath, a Cabal slug rifle. The soldier that owned this weapon believed that as long as they remain alive, they've won, no matter what it takes. Doesn't matter how they got there or who they sacrificed in the process. The Cabal inscription on the weapon reads, "Victory or Death." Sleeper Simulant, based off of a Golden Age weapon. Rasputin forged the Sleeper for the Guardian after the Aikilos subroutine was initiated, which essentially says provide weaponry to the Guardians to fight what they need to fight. The laser tech in Sleeper may be similar to that of Warsats. Still Hunt provides a super through its use, the only weapon to do this currently. It's associated with Cayde 6, and its lore involves Cayde plotting to kill Crow, but when Glint pops up and apologizes, Cayde realizes Crow is not Aldrin. Crow is Crow. Sturm. Two colonists aboard the Exodus Black shared a bond. Sigrun gifted Victor the Drang, and Victor gave Sigrun the Sturm. They have an interesting short story, but the weapons work together. The legendary Drang says consecutive kills overflow Sturm's magazine with bonus damage rounds. Suros Regime. Golden Age tech and smart matter combined to create the Suros regime by the Suros manufacturer. In Destiny 1's early development, it was actually called the Arcus regime instead. Sunshot. Guardian Liu Fang was surrounded by Hive. Using the solar heart from her Sunbreaker abilities, she channels her energy one last time to create a weapon, one that would burn just like her mighty hammer. This was the Sunshot. Sweet Business. We don't know the Guardian who owned this weapon, but we do know how it got its name. A random Guardian witnessing the weapon's devastation called it some sweet business, to which the owner replied, "You ain't gotta tell me." This weapon has one of the largest magazines in the game. Symmetry. An exotic scout rifle represents the Symmetry faction's belief in the balance of light and dark. using the forces to challenge how we think and shape the future. Symmetry was a popular faction and almost replaced the Future War Cult in the early days after the Concordat was thrown out. Terabah was originally from the Crown of Sorrow raid's final chest. Its lore tab and backstory though have no connection to that raid at all. This is the only exotic like this. Telesto. This one has a ton. It uses power from the Awoken Harbingers, awoken superweapons that have sentience of their own. Destiny 2's version of this weapon was released in the Curse of Osiris, and its lore tab had a secret message that read, "Crow Untrustworthy desires power," foreshadowing the events to come in Forsaken. Tessellation is of Pyramid and Witness design. This is the only weapon that adapts damage to match your grenade, using every available element. The Chaperone was the personal shotgun of Amanda Holliday. The original was owned by her mother and helped them reach the city through the ruined parts of Earth. It was later recreated by Amanda along with the Tex Mechanica manufacturer. The Colony was built with the inspiration of venomous creatures like snakes. The AI-controlled insectoid grenades have a mind of their own and can track the targets. The Fourth Horseman. Its lore tab mentions that it fires a rapid-fire storm of destruction, an unstoppable force of nature that even the Cabal covet, much like the Fourth Horseman of the Apocalypse, Death. A Cabal face can also be seen inscribed on the weapon's side. The Huckleberry is also crafted by Tex Mechanica, who themes their weapons around the Wild West. The Jade Rabbit, built from Golden Age tech and propulsion systems once used in settlements on the moon. Its name is still a mystery, but the Jade Rabbit mystery goes even further. There's hidden statues of these little rabbits found around the moon. The Lament was a sword that originally belonged to Clovis Bray I, the Exo, in other words, Banshee 44. The last word belonged to the Guardian Jaren Ward and passed down to one of the most legendary hunters of all time, the man with the golden gun, Shin Malphur. The golden gun, when hunters use their super, uses the same model as the last word. The Manticore. Its lore tab is basically just Xivu Arath and Mara Sov roasting each other. Xivu says this to Mara, "You are so small-minded. War is eternal. You are not. You wither and die like your armies, your subjects." To which Mara says, "Your sister plotted against you. She freed herself from the bondage you still endure, and she did so at my hand." The Navigator is named after Oryx the Taken King, a weapon from Xivu Arath that reminds us of her goals: to continue Oryx's legacy and carve her own path of destruction across the universe through war. The Prospector. Despite once being one of the least used exotics in Destiny 2, it did gain some popularity during the Leviathan raids, because apparently it was the only weapon capable of destroying the Watchers in the Leviathan without triggering the alarms. The Queenbreaker, a fallen weapon wire rifle that was once used by the Queenbreaker guards of the Reef. These were the guards of Mara Sov before the Wolves rebelled, and when they did rebel, the weapons were left behind and taken as trophies. The Wardcliff Coil. Hammett, a guardian a part of the Future War Cult, built the Wardcliff Coil with an Axion emitter with quark gluon coils to create a powerful weapon capable of devastating the Fallen surrounding his camp. The creation of this weapon carried some risk of catastrophic consequence, including potentially devouring the Earth itself. But nonetheless, Hammett pushed forward, hoping the device would provide the salvation needed to escape his situation. This thing was also called the Dubious Volley in early development. Thorn, one of the most notorious weapons of sorrow that belonged to Dredgen Yor. Thorn serves as a grim reminder of how far one can fall when driven by lust, greed, and fear. Thorn was once a great weapon for heroes, but through Yor's transformation and hive magics, it became one of the most gruesome weapons of all time. Guardians even used similar designs in the Crucible to purposefully kill other Guardians. Thunderlord was also one of the earliest revealed exotics from the E3 demo back in 2013. Zavala can also be seen using it in some early city battles from the comics. Thunderlord is an arc-killing machine, but Solar and Void versions were also available in Destiny 1. Tiku's Divination. Tiku's bow bends time itself, making sure its arrows always find their mark by aligning with a future where they already struck. It was crafted by the Scion Tiku, who sacrificed himself to create the powerful psionic bow and become a part of it and time himself. Tommy's Matchbook. After Cade's death, many hunters hid as they didn't want the role of Hunter Vanguard. A guardian named Ghost and a ghost named Tommy hid in the city. When the warlock Anur approached and had questions about why hunters were leaving, the pair gave Anur the weapon Tommy's Matchbook to keep her quiet. Touch of Malice, also a weapon of sorrow. The Books of Sorrow claim Oryx wanted the weapon built, and that through his death he still feeds on his victims. Remember Ruinous Effigy, the darkness weapon that feeds off the Guardian's light? Apparently the Touch of Malice was its blueprint according to Eris Morn. As the Guardian shoots with it, it drains their health. Tractor Cannon. Created by the Ishtar Collective, it was originally used to move heavy objects. Traveler's Chosen has the logo of the 3 Guardian classes on its side. Its lore mentions the Ahamkara skull hanging above Shax's head, and how it or possibly Savathun used it to spy further into the city in the past. Trespasser is the personal weapon of Hunter Scout and close friend of Cade 6, Shiro 4. Trinity Ghoul belonged to Marin Mansanas, the Tangled Outrider. Her bow was once stolen by Elikris the Machinist. Marin and an awoken Corsair went on a mission to retrieve it. When another Baron, the Rifleman, captured the Corsair, Marin was forced to showcase her bow skills. She shot a can of ether off the Corsair's head from 700 meters away. Truth had insane tracking in Destiny 1, it almost always hit its target no matter where you went. Its lore card in Destiny 2 details the moment Mithrax finds his daughter Ido on a fallen skiff. Two-Tailed Fox is the biggest rocket launcher in the game. I mean, just look at this thing. The Vex Mythoclast, created by the Vex but fit for human hands, although its creation remains a mystery. It came from the Vault of Glass, but was not built like the other weapons thanks to that lost fire team. It binds auto rifles and fusion rifles together to make a full auto fusion with unique Vex capabilities. Vexcalibur. In the Lightfall year, Asher Mir disappeared into the Vex network and became one with it. A friendly Vex Harpy opens the way for Mithrax and the Guardian, Asher leading us in, guiding us through the network to destroy the Vex mine that's been trying to stop him from exploring and integrating. Asher Mir gives us this glaive. Sure, it's a weapon, but is also capable of bypassing Vex security measures. Asher Mir learned about the final shape and became one with the network. Verglass Curve is an awoken weapon and allows the user to channel a moment of stillness as the arrow is prepared. Or at least that's what happened for the Awoken who created it. Vigilance Wing fires 5 bullets instead of the usual pulse rifle 3. One of the only ones to do this. It's also heavily tied to the Cult of Osiris and their beliefs, Brother Vance and so on. Wave Splitter utilizes focused sonic waves to generate a powerful energy beam by superheating electrons. The sound from this weapon, the sound waves, is what actually does the damage and is fired from the weapon, although it still needs ammo. Guardians describe the sound as everything from a bone-rattling scream to the echo of a dying star, or even a musical note like B-flat. Whisper of the Worm holds the essence of the slain worm god Zol. He still lives through its killing. Wicked Implement. Crafted by Xivu Arath, the Hive God of War, for the Guardian. Xivu calls upon the Guardian to embrace endless violence, sharpen their strength through conquest, and rise as a god of death in preparation for the final glorious battle. Winterbite. The Guardian entered the Vex network to stop the Vex from uncovering a Golden Age AI, or what remains of Soteria. Winterbite belongs to Neomuna and is retrieved from the vaults as a reward for the Guardian's success. That quest also hinted at a future ally in Asa from Season of the Deep. Wishender, the bow of legendary Queenswrath Seer Ido. Some say she still lives, out there, trapped, just waiting to be released. The Wishender can pierce shields and allows you to see through walls. Wishender was able to destroy Ahamkara eggs. Wishkeeper does the exact opposite. The Ahamkara Taranis, Riven's mate, did the only thing that Ahamkara could never do, made a wish. The outcome was this Wishkeeper, and the hope to keep he and Riven's children, the eggs, safe. The eggs are now in the possession of Marasov. Witherhoard, created by the Drifter. Apparently, if you damage enemies with Witherhoard and then hit them with Wishender or Malfeasance, you deal an extra 25% damage. Worldline Zero, created by the exo-stranger, not so stranger anymore, Elizabeth Bray. It was forged using what appears to be Vex technology and a collaboration with Ishtar researchers, possibly Maya Sundaresh. It allows the user to teleport in a Vex fashion, and it was locked on Mars and found by the Guardian in Warmind. Xenophage is powered by the soul of Omar Aga, former Guardian and member of Erismorn's fire team who now exists as a hive bug. He can be seen inside the weapon. So there you have it, Guardians, an interesting fact about every exotic weapon in Destiny 2. This is up to episode Echoes before we get the exotic quest, so there should be another one soon, and hopefully we didn't miss any throughout the video, but if we did, be sure to keep us updated in the comments down below. If you'd like to see some more Destiny news, lore, and mysteries just like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.